Hello students, in last class we already discussed about magnetic effects of electric current. That means how a current carrying conductor is able to produce magnetic field surrounding it, and by the help of Biot-Savart's law and Ampere-Circuital law we are able to find out the strength of the magnetic field. Clear? Then scientists try to study about whether the reverse process of that is possible or not. That means if a current carrying conductor is able to produce a magnetic field surrounding itself, then can a magnetic field is able to produce an electric current in a conductor? A large number of scientists tried a lot and performed a large number of experiments, but finally Faraday and Henry, two scientists, got the answer to the question that yes, we can able to produce electric current in a conductor due to the effect of magnetic field. Clear? Okay, and that phenomena is known as electromagnetic induction. The next chapter in our physics syllabus, that is electromagnetic induction, or in short it is known as EMI. Clear? Electromagnetic induction, that means due to magnetic effect an electric current is induced in a coil or conductor, which is known as electromagnetic induction, and it was first successfully observed by Faraday and Henry. Clear? In previous chapter, that is in magnetic effects of electric current, we already studied that a current carrying conductor is capable of producing magnetic field surrounding it. But in this chapter we will study the reverse process. That means we have a magnetic field, and by using that magnetic field we are producing electric current in a conductor by the process of induction. That means there is no physical contact, but a current is induced in a conductor or coil by the help of magnetic field. That is known as electromagnetic induction. And from different experiments, Faraday and Henry conclude that a magnetic field can be able to produce electric current in a conductor. So among the large number of experiments, we are going to study some of them. So first of all, discuss what is Faraday-Henry experiments. So what they did, here is a circular coil which is attached with a sensitive galvanometer. Clear? And they brought a bar magnet. Let this is the north pole and this is south pole, which is held along the axis of the circular coil. Clear? Then they move this bar magnet towards the circular coil, center of the circular coil, gradually. They initially move this bar magnet towards the center of the circular coil. When they did so, as they try to move this bar magnet towards the center of the circular coil, it was observed that the galvanometer which is connected to the circular coil shows some deflection. Let it be deflect along this way. Initially, when the north pole of the bar magnet is moving towards the center of the circular coil. Clear? And finally the bar magnet reached close to the circular coil, and they stopped the bar or held the bar magnet at this position. When the motion of the bar magnet or the relative motion between the circular coil and bar magnet is zero, that means when the bar magnet is moving towards the circular coil, the galvanometer shows some deflection, which indicates that there is some current flowing through the circular coil. But when finally the bar magnet comes close to the circular coil and the motion of the bar magnet becomes zero, that means the bar magnet comes to rest, the galvanometer shows zero deflection. Initially the bar magnet is at a distance larger than the final position, that means the magnetic field strength linked with the coil is initially less than the final position, because finally the bar magnet is held close to the circular coil, but initially when the bar magnet is at rest at a large distance, the current flowing through the circular coil is zero, because the galvanometer shows zero deflection, and finally when the bar magnet is closely placed to the circular coil, then also the galvanometer shows zero deflection. But when the bar magnet is moving towards the circular coil, the galvanometer shows deflection. That means whether the magnetic field linked with the coil is strong or less, it is not responsible to produce current within the coil. But when the bar magnet is in motion, that means when the magnetic field is increasing from less to high, the coils produce some electric current within it, due to which the galvanometer shows deflection. And similarly, when they took away the bar magnet from the circular coil to some distant place, then also the galvanometer shows deflection, but in the reverse direction. If initially when the bar magnet is taking towards to the circular coil, the galvanometer shows deflection towards left, then when the bar magnet is taking away from the circular coil, the galvanometer shows deflection towards right. But when the bar magnet is again placed at its initial position at rest, there will be no deflection in the galvanometer. That means when there is a relative motion between the circular coil and the bar magnet, the galvanometer shows deflection. Whether the magnetic field strength linked to the coil is strong or weak, that doesn't matter. If the magnetic field strength is changing, that is from strong to weak or weak to strong, or there is a relative motion between the coil and the bar magnet, then also the galvanometer shows some deflection, which indicates that there is a current flowing through the coil. Clear? It was an experiment. Then Faraday also observed that if there is a coil which is attached with a source, and there is another coil which is attached with a galvanometer. Okay, so here some current is flowing through the coil due to the source V, some I current is flowing through the coil, and here is a coil which is attached only with a galvanometer. Now he brought this current carrying coil close to the coil which attached with a galvanometer only. So when the coil which is attached with the source and have some current within it is moving towards the coil which is attached with a galvanometer, then the galvanometer shows some deflection. That means due to the motion of this current carrying coil, some current is produced within this coil which is attached with the galvanometer, because the galvanometer shows some deflection. And again when the coil stops, the deflection in the galvanometer also becomes zero. And again when the current carrying coil moves away from the coil which is attached with the galvanometer, again the galvanometer shows deflection, but in opposite direction. That means if initially when the current carrying coil is moving towards the coil which is attached with the galvanometer, the deflection shows by the galvanometer is clockwise, that means towards right, then if finally the current carrying coil is moving away from the galvanometer, the deflection will be opposite, towards left, anti-clockwise. Clear? But when there is no relative motion between these two coils, the galvanometer shows zero deflection. This deflection can also be obtained if I make this coil static and move this coil forward and backward, then also the galvanometer shows deflection. This means that when there is any relative motion between these two coils, whether this coil is moving or this is at rest, or if this coil is at rest and this coil is moving, then only the galvanometer shows deflection. Clear? Next, there is two circular coils. One is connected with a battery source through a key, tapping key, and there is another coil which is just connected with a galvanometer. Clear? Now both the coil is at rest. Clear? Initially the key is in open condition, that means there is no current flowing through this coil. So when we close this key, some current starts to flow through this circuit, due to which the galvanometer shows some deflection. Again I break this circuit by opening the key. The current through the circuit becomes 0, and again the galvanometer shows some deflection in opposite direction. That means when we close the key, the current within the coil increase from 0 to the maximum value I, then the galvanometer shows some deflection in certain direction. But when the current continue to flow through this circuit, there will be no deflection within the galvanometer. Again, when we open or break this circuit, the current within the coil decreases from I to 0. Again the galvanometer of this coil shows some deflection but in opposite direction. But when the current flowing through the circuit is 0, there is no deflection, and when the current flowing through the circuit is constant, there will be no deflection in the galvanometer. That means when the current flowing through this coil changes, the magnetic field produced due to this current carrying coil surrounding itself is also changing, and if the magnetic field changing, the magnetic field lines that passing through this coil is also changing, so it will induce a current within it or induce an EMF within this circular coil. Clear? So from these three experiments we can conclude that whenever there is a relative motion between a coil and a magnetic field, an EMF is induced within the coil, and if the magnetic field lines passing through the coil changes with respect to time, then also an EMF induced within the coil. Clear? So from these experiments, Faraday gives us two laws of electromagnetic induction. Clear? So what is electromagnetic induction? We already studied. If we are able to produce electric current in a coil or conductor by the help of magnetic field, that phenomena is known as electromagnetic induction. And when a current is able to produced in a coil due to a magnetic field, when there is a relative motion between the magnetic field and the coil, or when the magnetic field lines passing through the coil is changing, either the number of field lines increasing or the number of field lines decreasing, then also the magnetic field is able to produce an electric current or EMF within the coil. Clear? If the field lines are changing, that means we already know that the number of field lines passing through a given cross-sectional area is known as what? Flux. So if the magnetic field lines are changing through a coil, that means the magnetic flux linked with the coil is changing. So it can be concluded that if the total flux linked with the coil is changing, then there is an induced EMF produced within the coil, and if the circuit is closed, then an induced current starts to flowing through the coil. Clear? And based upon these experiments, Faraday gives us two laws of electromagnetic induction. So what are the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction? Let's study about that. Faraday's law of EMI. Okay, so what is Faraday's laws of EMI? So the first law states that whenever there is a relative motion between magnetic field and a conductor or a coil due to which if the magnetic field lines get caught or the total magnetic flux linked with the coil changes, then an EMF induced within the coil and if the circuit is closed, then an induced current starts to flow. This phenomena is known as electromagnetic induction or EMI. Clear? So whenever there is a relative motion between magnetic field and a conductor or a coil, due to which if the magnetic field lines get caught or the total magnetic flux linked with the coil changes, then an EMF induced within the coil, and if the circuit is closed, then an induced current starts to flow. This phenomena is known as electromagnetic induction. Clear? And here we have to remember one thing, that the induced EMF lasts so long as the change in magnetic flux continues. Okay, clear? So when the magnetic flux changed, an EMF is induced, and that induced EMF lasts within the coil until the change in magnetic flux continues. So EMF lasts so long as the change in magnetic flux continues. This is known as what? Faraday's first law of electromagnetic induction. Clear? Then what is the Faraday's second law? Clear? Understood? What is Faraday's second law? So according to Faraday's second law, it gives us that the magnitude of the induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux linked with the coil. Okay, so second law of Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction states what? The magnitude of the induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux linked with the coil. That means the magnitude of induced EMF is directly proportional to rate of change of magnetic flux linked with the coil. So this image we can write the magnitude of the induced EMF E is directly proportional to d phi by dt. For d phi by dt was the rate of change of magnetic flux. This can be written as the induced EMF mod is equal to d phi by dt into some constant k. Here k is a proportionality constant whose value equal to 1 for SI system. So this implies, simply we can write the E mod, magnitude of induced EMF, is equal to the rate of change of magnetic flux linked with the coil. Clear? This is known as what? The second law of electromagnetic induction proposed by Faraday. First law states how an EMF is induced in a coil and how long the induced EMF lasts in a coil, and the second law proposed what is the magnitude of the induced EMF, by what amount EMF is induced within a coil. Clear? So from this second law we can write that if phi 1 is the flux linked with a coil at t1 second and phi 2 is the flux linked with a coil at t2 second. This is t1 second, this is at t2 second. Then the induced EMF E is directly proportional to rate of change of magnetic flux d phi by dt. So this implies you can write E mod is equal to d phi by dt, or this can also be written what is the change in flux, phi 2 minus phi 1 divided by t2 minus t1. Clear? So this is the value of magnitude of the induced EMF in a coil due to change in magnetic flux. Clear? So whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, an EMF is induced within the coil, and if the circuit is closed, then due to the induced EMF, an induced current starts to flowing through the coil, and the magnitude of this induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux. That means if the magnetic flux changes very fast, the magnitude of the induced EMF is very large. If the change in magnetic flux is very slow, the magnitude of the induced EMF will be very low. Clear? So Faraday gives us that the rate of change of magnetic flux will gives us the magnitude of the induced EMF, but Faraday is not able to gives us the polarity of the induced EMF or the direction of the induced current in a coil by electromagnetic induction. So how to determine the polarity of the induced EMF or the direction of induced current in a coil which is produced due to electromagnetic induction. So till now we have studied that whenever there is a change in magnetic flux linked with a coil, or there is any relative motion between a coil and a magnetic field, an EMF is induced within the coil, and the magnitude of that induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux. That means if magnetic flux changes very fast, the induced EMF will be very large, and if the change in magnetic flux is very slow, the induced EMF will be very low. But Faraday was not able to tell us that what will be the direction of the polarity of the induced EMF, or if the circuit is closed, then due to the induced EMF an induced current starts flowing through the coil, then what will be the direction of the induced current flowing through the coil. So to find out the direction of the induced current flowing through a coil or the polarity of the induced EMF, another scientist gives us a law that is known as Lentz's law. So what is Lentz's law? Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction gives us how an induced EMF is produced within a coil and what is the magnitude of the induced EMF or the magnitude of the induced current. Then Lentz's law gives us the direction of induced current within a coil produced by electromagnetic induction, or the polarity of the induced EMF which is produced within a coil by the help of electromagnetic induction. So Lentz's law tells us what? It states that the direction of induced EMF or induced current is in such a way that it opposes the cause which produces it. Okay, it states that the direction of induced EMF or induced current is in such a way that it opposes the cause which produces it. That means if in a coil there is an induced current flowing through it, then the direction of the induced current will be in such a way that it always tries to oppose the cause which is producing that induced current. Clear? You have to remember this law to find out the direction of induced current in a coil or the polarity of the induced EMF. So you have to remember that it states that the direction of induced EMF or induced current is in such a way that it opposes the cause which produces it. So in mathematical expression we can write that the induced EMF E equal to minus d phi by dt, where the negative symbol indicates that the induced EMF will be opposite to that of the change in magnetic flux. Clear? So let's understand this law, how this law gives us the direction about the induced EMF. If here is a circular coil which is attached with a galvanometer, clear, and a bar magnet is placed along the axis of the circular coil. This is north pole and this is south pole. Initially the bar magnet is at rest, then the galvanometer shows zero deflection. Clear? But when we are moving this bar magnet towards the circular coil, gradually there is a increase in magnetic field, and due to increase in magnetic field, the number of lines of magnetic fields passing through this coil will increase, due to which the flux linked with the coil will increase, due to which an EMF is induced within the circuit, due to which a induced current starts to flowing through this circuit. Clear? But when there is no relative motion, there will be no deflection in the galvanometer. That means there will be no induced current flowing through this circuit. So when we are moving this north pole towards this circular coil, the galvanometer shows certain deflection, due to which an current I, it starts flowing through it. Clear? So what will be the direction of this current flowing through this coil? So what is the cause of this induced current? The cause of this induced current is moving of the north pole towards the circular coil. If the north pole is moving towards the circular coil, then only the current is inducing within this circuit. That means the cause of the induced current is the motion of the north pole towards the circular coil. And according to Lentz's law, the direction of the current will be in such a way that it will try to oppose the cause of it. So in this circular coil, the current starts to flow in such a direction that it can able to oppose the motion of this north pole of the bar magnet towards the circular coil. Clear? So if the coil wants to oppose the motion of the north pole of this bar magnet towards the circular coil, then this right side of this circular coil must behave as a north pole, because as the north pole is moving towards it, if we are placing another north pole over here, then the north pole motion will get slow or it will get some opposition, and as Lenz told us that the direction of current will be in such a way that it will try to oppose the cause. So the cause here is the motion of the north pole towards the circular coil. That's why the current flows in such a way that it will able to oppose the motion of the north pole towards the coil. So it will start to flow in such a direction that this end or the right hand side end of the circular coil will behave as a north pole. And we already know that when current flowing in a circular coil in anti-clockwise direction, then this end will act as a north pole. So for this end, if the current will flow like this along this direction, this end will act as a north pole, and it will north pole of the coil, and it will oppose the motion of the north pole towards the coil. Clear? Okay. So now we change the condition. So in this case, when the north pole is moving towards the coil, the current flowing through the coil will be in anti-clockwise direction. Clear? Again, here the same coil is there, a galvanometer is attached to it, and now the bar magnet is close to the coil. The north pole is here, the south pole is here. When the bar magnet and coil are at rest, there will be no deflection in the galvanometer. Now we are moving the galvanometer away from the circular coil along this direction. So when we start to move the bar magnet away from the circular coil, the galvanometer shows some deflection. That means there is some induced current starts to flow within the coil. So here the cause of the induced current flowing through the coil is what? The motion of the bar magnet away from the coil. That means the north pole is moving away from the coil, which will cause to flow of induced current within the circuit. So according to Lenz's law, the direction of the induced current will be in such a way that it will oppose the cause. So here the cause is motion of the north pole away from the circular coil. So the current will start to flow in the coil in such a way that it doesn't allow the motion of the north pole away from the coil. That means this end of the circular coil must act as a south pole, because south pole will attract the north pole. That's why the motion of the north pole away from the coil will get opposed only if the right hand side of the coil will behave as a south pole. So if this coil behaves as a south pole, so the current will start flowing in clockwise direction from the right hand side, and the circular coil of right hand side end will behave as a south pole, which will oppose the motion of the bar magnet along this direction. Clear? This is what Lenz's law told us, that when there is an induced EMF produced in a coil, the direction of the induced EMF will be in such a way that it will always try to oppose the cause of it. The cause which is generating that induced current, the induced current direction will be in such a way that it tries to oppose that cause. Clear? So Lenz's law is basically based upon conservation principle of energy. So how the Lenz's law is based upon conservation principle of energy? We already know that the Lenz's law told us that the direction of induced current in a coil will be in such a way that it tries to oppose the cause of it. So how Lenz's law is based upon conservation principle of energy? It is based upon conservation principle energy. How? So just take an example. The same example we already discussed right now. Here is a circular coil which is attached with a galvanometer. Okay, and there is a bar magnet held along the central axis of the circular coil, the north pole and south pole. When both are at rest, there will be no induced EMF generate. when we move the bar magnet towards the circular coil, the magnetic field strength gradually increase, or the lines of force passing through this magnetic field lines passing through this coil will increase, which cause the increase in flux, and the galvanometer shows certain deflection. And here the cause is the north pole is moving towards the coil, so the right hand side of the circular coil behave as a north pole to oppose the cause, and the current flowing through it will be in anti-clockwise direction. Clear? So when the motion of this north pole will get some opposition to move the north pole towards this direction, the external agent has to do some work on this bar magnet to overcome the opposition. Clear? As the induced current tries to oppose the motion of this bar magnet, and we want to move this bar magnet close to the circular coil, then we have to do some work on this bar magnet to overcome the opposition by the induced current. That means when we are doing some work on this bar magnet, we are losing some energy, or we are giving some mechanical energy to this bar magnet to overcome this opposition. So the mechanical energy that we provided to this bar magnet to move it towards the circular coil, due to which an induced EMF is flowing through the circuit, and that induced EMF which cause a induced current flowing through the circuit, due to which we get electrical energy. Clear? To overcome this opposition, we have to do some external work, and our external work causes the loss in our mechanical energy, and this loss in our mechanical energy is cause of electric current flowing through the circuit, which will able to generate electrical energy. Clear? So according to Lenz law, if as there is some opposition to the motion of this bar magnet, we have to do some external work in loss of some mechanical energy, and that loss in mechanical energy is converted into electrical energy. Similarly, when there is the coil attached to the galvanometer, and we are taking away the bar magnet, this is the north pole and south pole, away from this coil. So when we are taking away the bar magnet from this coil, the coil does not want to move the bar magnet along this direction, because according to Lenz's law, the direction of the induced current will be in such a way that it will oppose the cause of it. So here the cause is motion of the north pole along this direction, so the current will flow in such a direction that this end will act as a south pole, so that the motion of the north pole along this direction will get opposed. So as the south pole of the coil attracts the north pole of the bar magnet, so to move the bar magnet along this direction, we have to apply some external work on this bar magnet, which causes some mechanical energy loss of us, and that loss in mechanical energy causes some induced current flowing through this circuit, which will able to produce some electrical energy. Clear? So the Lenz's law based upon conservation principle of energy, because due to Lenz's law, when we have to produce some induced current within a coil, we have to lose some mechanical energy, and due to the loss of mechanical energy, some work is done on the bar magnet, and due to that work some induced current is flowing through the circuit, and which is able to produce some electrical energy. So as here the mechanical energy of the external agent is converted into electrical energy produced by the induced current So the Lenz's law is based upon conservation of energy. Clear? So this is the example. on behalf of which we are able to justify this statement that Lentz's law is based upon conservation principle of energy. Here the mechanical energy lost by the external agent is converted into electrical energy by the induced current. Clear? Okay, so we already studied that what is electromagnetic induction and how Faraday and Henry proposed the law of electromagnetic induction by performing a large number of experiments, and then what is the direction of induced current or the polarity of induced EMF produced in a coil or conductor gives us by the Lentz's law, and how Lentz's law is based upon conservation principle of energy. Clear? So in previous class we already studied that magnetic force is not able to do any work on a charge, or the work done by a magnetic force on a moving charge is zero. Clear? But in this chapter we can make some modification with that statement that magnetic force is doing zero work on a charge. In place of that we can say that the net work done by a magnetic force on a moving charge is zero. That means a magnetic force can do some positive work on a charge and an equal amount of negative work on a charge. As here in this case, when a magnetic substance or a coil which carries some charge is moving towards a magnetic field, it get opposed. That means the magnetic force oppose the motion of this charge. That means the magnetic force do some negative work on the external agent. Just imagine if I am moving this coil towards the bar magnet. Clear? So as I am moving this coil towards the bar magnet, according to Lentz's law, the bar magnet produce a current in such a way that the motion of the coil towards this will be opposed. That means this magnetic force do some negative work on this charge carrying conductor, due to which an current is produced within it, and as the negative work is done by this magnetic force on this current carrying conductor, it will absorb some energy from the external agent which is try to move along this direction to produce an induced EMF. So the magnetic field is doing some negative work on the external agent, due to which it absorbs some energy, and by using that energy it do some positive work on the charge to produce a EMF within the coil. So the net work done by the magnetic force is zero. That means it do equal amount of negative work and equal amount of positive work. Clear? So here in case the magnetic force act as a mediator to convert mechanical energy into electrical energy. Clear? Okay, understand? So what is electromagnetic induction? Understood what are the laws of electromagnetic induction proposed by Michael Faraday, and how the direction of induced current in a coil is determined by the Lentz's law. Clear? Next class we will discuss some more topics regarding this. Okay, thank you.